Why does it seem that the woke lefties in this country are the only people on earth who care more about everyone else's country than their own? Genuinely, only in Britain it seems do the woke lot shout louder about Gaza than Glasgow. They'll wave a foreign flag, scream about Sudan, Ukraine, Colombia, but mention their own country, suddenly it's toxic, evil, or indeed problematic. They've got no pride here, just outrage for everyone else. It's like they want to run away from Britain, but forgot to buy a ticket. Honestly, the only place they care about is anywhere but here.
There's been another fuck up.
I'm a twat, I'm a twat, I'm a stupid twat, I'm the biggest twat in the whole wide world. I'm a twat, I'm a twat, I'm a stupid twat, and you will do what you are told. Every single day, every single night, I'll surrender your dreams without a fight, and if you disagree with me, the police will arrest you with all their might. So, do as I say every single day, because for the first time I will be blunt. I'm a twat, I'm a twat, I'm a twat, I'm a twat, and I am the nation's biggest
The whole of the British military have gone woke. You know, they are more concerned with feminism and BLM and LGBT and wearing rainbows than they are about getting strong masculine men and teaching them how to be more stronger and more masculine. And that's how they're going to get people. Don't go for all this woke stuff. Strong and masculine is what you need from your British Armed Forces.
Every second just gets worse.
How much is it costing the British taxpayer to house illegal migrants every day?
You know what? I'm not really interested in that question. I'm more interested in how much can we pay them in order to ensure that not only do they get a better life, but that they can contribute culturally and through their labor in order to enact the positive changes that I want to see. You know, I have a polyamorous relationship. I live with my girlfriend and my girlfriend's boyfriend, who himself is a Sudanese migrant who's lived in the house with us now for a year. I live my life on the principles of equality, equity, and the idea of sharing, openness for all. And I will never stop somebody coming into my home. I don't have locks on the doors in my house because...
Have you ever been burgled?
I have been burgled several times. But it's all about how you reframe or recontextualize the idea of a burglary. What does it mean to own a thing? Why is something mine and not yours? These concepts are evil, capitalist, colonial concepts that have been drilled into us. What's yours is mine, what's mine is yours.
Ice has arrived in the UK. That video was from an official Home Office TikTok account called Secure Borders UK. And that account was created nearly 1 week ago. And yes, they're hopping off internet trends whilst talking about removing alleged immigrants. This all relates back to the Borders, Security, Asylum and Immigration Act 2025. It was designed by the UK government to restructure the UK's border security. Sound familiar? Now, aside from what's happening on the ground, what I have an issue with is how these videos are pushing and contributing to the dividing narrative that is at play in this country. This video, for example, which brands car washes, nail salons and barbers as dodgy businesses, is problematic not just because of the language used, but on a systemic level. These businesses are stereotypically staffed by working class people. It further increases the discourse of the most financially vulnerable in this country, regardless of whether you're a UK citizen or not. Now, according to the official Labour government website, Secure Borders UK have already deported nearly 50,000 people. But if you think that the UK doesn't have detention centres, then you'd be wrong. We do. If you don't feel worried about what is happening in the UK mirroring the behaviour of ICE and the Trump administration in the USA, then I would encourage you to think again.
Welcome to Blighty Blighted,
Your daily reminder that the United Kingdom has become, how shall I put it, a woke, broke joke. Yes, I said it. Carefully, politely, and with proper posture. The United Kingdom, once known for industry, backbone, and common sense, now specializes in slogans, shortages, and sensitivity training. We're broke, but very progressive about it. Can't afford heat, but the paperwork is inclusive. Can't see a doctor, but the forms are respectful. Nothing works, but at least it fails compassionately. Everyone's terrified of saying the wrong word while everything else goes wrong quite freely. Trains late, streets a mess, bills outrageous. But don't worry, the poster campaign is very reassuring. We used to build ships and engines. Now we build guidelines and apologies. We've gone from heavy industry to heavy disclaimers. The country feels like a theatre production, where all the money went on the program notes and none on the stage set.
Left, right? They constantly say things like, you are seen, right? We see you. Kamala Harris said this all the time. And what we want is representation. We want our people in positions of importance and power. It's like, okay, why? And it's because recognition of someone else's worth is important to people, to be recognized as an equal, or at least not necessarily even an equal, but to be recognized as being important and a consideration, to have priority, right? And that is true. There's a real thing that people want recognition on a personal level, on a collective level. Sure. People want recognition. That was the underlying essence of where the woke left had some strength. There's a real thing, you know, yeah, you do deserve some sort of recognition. And on the woke right, the underlying essence is it's fair for the English to want to feel demographically safe in their own country. Right? It's fair. It's totally fair. And so both of these points, positions do have some legitimacy underlying it. A lot of their activists aren't necessarily the best people to be communicating.
Well, I think that's what we mean by woke, though, because I think the people on the left who have those beliefs that you just described, wanting to feel seen and so on, minorities, I think most of us are quite willing to sit down and have a conversation.
That's why it got so far.
They in the life of an evil level wants to steal your taxes. Morning coffee made with bulk coffee beans. I don't have a lesson until to 40, so here's my revising. How evil are evil leveling magazines? Even doing my makeup, even though I'm a feminist, I'm evil. My pronoun concealer and gender bronzer. Turning in electricity when I'm not using it. How woke and evil. More revision. Making a ham sandwich because not all Green Party members were vegetarians. Drove my friends to college on a learner's permit as test preparation. Psychology lesson. Taking the evil socialist bus home. Home for 5:30. Finishing the day with my evil Green Party ideology.
Is it cheaper to fly abroad to do your shopping? I flew to Turkey for just 6 hours to see if it was cheaper shopping there and bringing it all home rather than going to my local Tesco. I picked up this flight for £33 return and a return tram to the city centre for £144, so I had to save at least £35 just to break even. And the Turkish supermarket BİM did not disappoint. Oral-B was £1.71 each, which the exact same item at Tesco here is £5 each. A multi-pack of Cocoa Pops was £2.24. To get the same amount in Tesco, it'd be over £10. And get this, 84p for a pack of Doritos. They're £2.50 normally. I also found 49p Haribo's, Garnier Foundation for £1.46, and even 18p wet wipes. And after a quick trip to watch the sunset and cramming it all in my bag, I got it all home. In total, this shop would have been £89.31 in Tesco, but in Turkey, I only paid £34.34 for a total saving of 20 quid. Which begs the question, have supermarket prices gone too far?
Breaking news just come in now, guys. The UK government have now issued a warning to every single male in the UK. If you were to refuse conscription for World War III, this is what would happen. Let me explain. They are now saying that with global tensions heating up, that the risk of global conflict is closer than it has been in some time. And the prospect of mandatory military conscription, especially for young men, could be a very real one. Just like in 1914 and 1918, when men refused conscription, as we know against the Germans, you would be publicly shamed and humiliated by women waving white feathers at you to mark the cowardice men that refuse to fight for their country. But as all us men will know, the prospect of World War III is definitely not something that anyone relishes. But as Vladimir Putin's push into Ukraine, and more recently Putin's puppets, have continued to make not so veiled threats, such as suggesting the UK university cities could be targeted. Because I don't know if anyone remembers this, but in the summer the UK government issued a warning to every citizen in the UK that we need to prepare for war on our homeland. What's even worse, and I bet nobody knew this, when men refused conscription in World
Why is everyone appearing to be so woke? You can't say this, you can't say that, you can't literally do nothing. You can't have an opinion on anything because someone's going to get offended somewhere down the line. Like, what? Why are people so weak? Like, toughen your skin and stiffen up that upper lip. You're in a world that is the way that it is. Why are we so offended by fucking words? Words that were made up since fucking Timbuktu, and then someone came along and decided to make that word offensive. Like, I can't deal with this world now. I can't deal with how woke people are. Like, stop it. At the end of the day, if you want to have an opinion, have an opinion. What is wrong with having an opinion and debating or talking about something? Like, at the end of the day, these are all harmless things, but the way people are going on is like it's the end of the fucking world. I can't with these people, I can't.
Imagine a law got put into place and no one in mainstream media, no one, content creators, no celebrities, no one was talking about it. Not a soul. An entire bill put up on October 2024. I've done 3 videos on this. If you've seen them, lucky you, you know what's coming. If you haven't, I'll tell you where to go in a minute to watch it. No one is talking about this. No one. The most authoritarian bill in British history has just been put through Parliament and not a soul is talking about it aside from me. And anytime I try and talk about it, the video gets throttled. So I'll be lucky if you even see this. I've pushed this everywhere. Facebook, X, YouTube, it's everywhere. I've tried to push this video. You need to know what's coming. 1984 just landed straight on our doorstep, and Labour have got full state control over your data. And if you think that's just your name and address, oh my God, you have got your head buried in the...
Here's a list of things that are too woke for me as a gay guy who's not woke when it comes to the whole he, she, we, they, them, zee, zo, vegan, vegetarian, non-binary, working at Starbucks with a septum piece and a bob blue haircut and monster canine drug addiction and one-handed searching in the other alphabet mafia circus community. People wearing dog masks and puppy masks, what the fuck? Saying there are infinite genders, no there's fucking not. 2, male, female. I'll call you a they, them. I will respect that you feel like you're in the middle 100%. You feel like you're in the middle, but physically you're not. I can feel like Jesus, but I'm not Jesus. I'll call you a they, them, but Z fucking zer. I need a Xanax. That's what I fucking need. A man in a fucking dress calling themselves a woman. Again, trans people are real. I just think you should make an effort to look like the gender you're affirming with. If you're wearing a full-ass beard, does that piss other trans people off? I'm curious. Those of you who are like truly femininely presenting and you've worked so hard to transition, does seeing a full-on man wearing a beard piss you off? Get this being proud of who you are, but do you need to have a trans flag in your name and your bio and your username? Like, it's in everything. Hold me you're trans on your page on 3 different levels. In your username, in your bio, and in your they them pronouns. Anyway, follow for more, you fake bitch, or I'll sue you. Goodbye. Mwah.
Do you want to come back to a Senate full of white men? No. So please take some time to look at what we can do in terms of the 2026.
Big news from the Senate today. Welsh MP Jane Hart left everyone stunned with her comments supporting quotas that would limit how many white men could be elected. Basically, candidates could be judged not by merit, but by who they are. The plan didn't fail because of politics. It was illegal. Equality law says you can't discriminate, no matter who's affected. And yet Hart seemed frustrated the law got in the way, not the discrimination itself. This isn't about stopping women in politics. It's about fairness. Elections should be decided by voters, not engineered quotas. When identity replaces competence, democracy suffers. In other news, 71-year-old Alan Perkins, a retiree with no private pension, just got hit with an £800 tax bill. Despite assurances from Chancellor Rachel Reeves that people relying only on state benefits wouldn't be taxed. A frozen tax threshold is pushing thousands like him into paying more, even if they barely make ends meet. This is what happens when policy ignores real-life impacts. If discrimination or unfair taxation is wrong, it's wrong, no matter who it hits. Comment below. What do you think about quotas and this pension tax issue?
The weather, is it natural? Is it not natural? I was talking about it yesterday and one of my videos got kind of blocked or banned because of misinformation, and I think it was just because of specific words that I used. So maybe I'll have to try and talk a little bit more carefully. But the point that I wanted to make was with regard to the weather and if it is being interfered with, I think that we know, for example, in North Africa, they do try and create rain. Dubai, there's all sorts going on in the USA to do with certain states trying to ban it from happening. So we know that it's happening. And obviously the weather doesn't exist within country borders. The weather moves around from place to place. So my thoughts are, is the weather in other places causing our weather to be like this? That's my question. Even if people would deny what's going on above us, is what's happening in other places affecting us here? And I think it was last year or the year before, they had some really terrible floods in Spain, and they thought that that could have been as a result of what was going on with the clouds in North Africa.
Why is this country so full of woke people? Grow up and open your eyes. If I want to talk in accent, I will talk in accent.
I don't know what the problem is with you all. I don't know what it is, honestly. Me and my cousin come down there. You're being trouble.
Why don't you just leave it alone? Why don't you open your eyes? You need to open them and everything will be fine. So if you're one of them woke people that just keep spam reporting my account when I'm on live, because I'm having a laugh with people are laughing and having a laugh and a good time, and you won't sit there and be like, oh, he did an accent! That's so fucking racist! Grow up! Grow up! But I bet you any money, if a comedian does it, you laugh at him. And if you have somebody on Britain's Got Talent that does impersonations, you laugh at them too. So what's the problem with somebody doing it on TikTok? Grow up, open your eyes, and stop being a wokey. Because nobody likes wokies round here.
A lot of us feel powerless in this country right now. We've marched, we've protested, we've shown up in the rain, we've chanted, we've filled the streets, and nothing's changed. And that's not because people don't care. It's because the people we're marching against don't care. They don't listen to noise. They only listen to consequences. And that's what this video is about. You've probably heard from the 2nd of February to the 9th of February 2026, there is a great British national strike, a full week of mass civil non-compliance, also known as opt-out week. And the idea is very simple. Stay home. Withdraw your participation in this bullshittery. Pull your energy, your labour, your money and your compliance out of the system for 7 days. No work, no education, no unnecessary shopping, just opt out. There are 2 goals. Number 1, force a general election, not in 2029, not when they feel like it, now. A week-long national shutdown sends a message that they can't ignore, not legally, not politically and not economically. And number 2, to set a precedent, to show this government and any future government that the British people will not tolerate corruption, mismanagement, lies, abuse of power, or the destruction of our communities any longer. This strike says we're done being ignored, we're done being walked over, we're done being powerless, because we're not. This is not left versus right. That shit needs to stop. This is the people versus a system that no longer serves them. And let me address what people always say. I can't afford a week off. And the truth is, most people can't. No one's asking you to lose your job or your income. Instead, you can stop all non-essential spending for the week, cancel or pause unnecessary subscriptions, do 0 extra hours, withdraw your consumer power. Don't travel unless needed, work as per your contract, no overtime, no favours, no covering shit. You can still make an impact without losing pay. Then there's it won't work. Well, protests haven't worked, marches haven't worked, petitions definitely haven't worked. Why? because they don't cost the system anything. A national strike does. It hits the only language they listen to: money, disruption, and collective withdrawal. Then there's the classic one. It's only a week. What difference will that make? Well, a week is long enough to hit the economy, hit supply chains, halt productivity, force media attention, pressure Parliament, and show the government this isn't noise. This is a standstill. But it's short enough that people can still do it without destroying their lives. You don't change a country by begging for attention. You change it by refusing to participate in its decline. From the 2nd to the 9th of February, whether you fully strike or you simply stop shopping or you reduce your spending or you work just to your contract, you are part of something bigger. They serve us, not the other way around. Spread the word, share this, do all the things. Okay, thanks, bye.
Woke is fucking back. Woo! I've seen this a lot lately. Woke is back. And it is. Woke is fucking back. But 4 years. 4 years out. They're going to try and body us every single chance they get. Anytime they can drag leftists through the shit in the media, you bet my arse, that's not how that sentence goes, they're going to take it. Lock in. We've got to keep the momentum going in, riding high into the election. They're going to fuck it up. Look at reform. They are bottling it big time. They're cutting wages for young people, and they're actively shutting down care homes in the councils that they run, which is fucking over old people. And they aren't committed to keeping the triple lot pension. So, I didn't do the 6-7 thing, I don't know what that means. I am unk. They're going to fuck it up. But they can still win if people aren't united. And if the message and the narrative isn't strong, that wealth redistribution will save our fucking finances. Lock in, boys and girls, because woke is back.
Man overboard! And no, I don't mean Keir Starmer, although that could be happening much sooner than we all expect, I think, the way things are going. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about that phrase, man overboard. It's a well-known phrase. We've all grown up with it. It's been part of our childhood. We all know what it's about. And apparently it can no longer be used. So the Royal Yachting Association, which has been around since 1875, has deemed the phrase man overboard to be divisive, not equal enough, not diverse enough, and derogatory for women and people of non-binary genders. So they're getting rid of it. They're saying we should no longer use it. They've published an inclusive language guide. The Royal Yachting Association feels the need to publish an inclusive language guide. And man overboard is not in that guide anymore. Apparently the new phrase to be used is person in the water. Really. So my question to you is this, particularly if you're a woman or if you're a non-binary or transgender or whatever, do you really find that phrase, man overboard, offensive or derogatory? How often do you spend time on boats? How often have you thought about, well, if I fall over the side and splash in the water, I'm really quite concerned what people say at that point. Would you not be a little bit more concerned in just making sure that your life jacket's working or that somebody can throw you a flotation aid? If they shout man overboard and then save your life, are you going to be really peed off with them because they didn't say person in water? What is this madness? Where do these rules come from? Who is getting offended by language like this? That's my main question. Who out there, walking around, normal people in day-to-day life, gets offended by the use of man as a word? It baffles me. It completely baffles me. It makes me laugh, but then when you think about it, it does sort of make you angry as well. Now, I've got no issue with saying person overboard or person in the water. It doesn't really bother me. Quite frankly, I couldn't really give a shit. But it does bother me that institutions, all of the institutions, are feeling the need to do things like publish an inclusive language guide. Seriously? Have you not got better things to do with your time? Have you not, more importantly, got better ways to spend your money? How much time has that taken? Who did you employ to do it? How many people did it? What did you pay them? Are you just going to put it on your website, or are you going to publish it as a document? In which case, who's paying for that as well? It's just bonkers. The lunacy is completely out of hand. I'm going to be man overboard.
Let's be brutally honest. The Western world is shifting to the right. Not because people have suddenly become extremists, but because they're sick to the back teeth of being lied to, gaslit and ignored. Look at the evidence. Trump's rise wasn't an accident. Reform UK is now a political juggernaut. Marine Le Pen's movement dominates France, and even historically liberal nations like Sweden and the Netherlands are seeing right-wing populists surge ahead. The media, the political elite and the so-called intellectual class want you to believe this is some kind of inexplicable outbreak of fascism. But let's call it what it is. It's the ordinary person fighting back against a system that has utterly betrayed them. First, let's talk about what we're actually allowed to discuss, because even the left can't deny it anymore. The working and middle classes have been shafted. Skyrocketing taxes, stagnant wages, unaffordable housing, and economic policies designed to benefit the ultra-rich, while the rest of us are left scrambling. People are exhausted. They're working longer hours for less. The dream of home ownership is just that, a dream. And yet, while Brits are struggling to pay the bills, billions are being thrown at foreign aid and pet projects that do absolutely nothing to help ordinary people. We're even paying for migrants to stay in 4-star hotels, while our own pensioners have to choose between heating and eating. And that brings us to the issue we're not allowed to talk about: cultural destruction, the real reason people are turning to the right. Let's be clear, economic hardship breeds resentment, but what really fuels the right-wing surge is the cultural war being waged against the people. Every single day, the mainstream media, the education system and the political elite shove their radical leftist ideologies down our throats. They tell us what we can and can't say. They rewrite history to paint our nations as evil, and they demand we bow to a dogma that defies both fact and common sense. People are absolutely sick of it. They're sick of being called racist for wanting controlled immigration. Because guess what? It's not racist to expect people who come to your country to integrate, respect the culture and contribute. It's not racist to say that mass unregulated migration puts an enormous strain on public services. They're sick of being told that gender is just a social construct, that biological reality is offensive, and that men can become women simply by declaring it so. They're sick of being told that their children should be indoctrinated into gender ideology before they even learn their times tables. They're sick of being told they're bigoted for believing in basic truths, that obesity is unhealthy, that criminals should be punished, and that personal responsibility actually matters. But what's the establishment's response? Do they listen? Do they engage in debate? No. Instead, they silence, censor, and smear. Anyone who dares question the narrative is a racist, a fascist, or some other convenient insult designed to shut down conversation. And yet, despite their best efforts, the right is winning. Why? Because when you tell people they can't talk about something, it doesn't stop them thinking about it. It makes them more determined. This is why the establishment is terrified. They've spent decades shaping a narrative, controlling the discourse, and shaming dissenters into submission. But the mask is slipping, and now finally, people are fighting back. The Western world is at a crossroads. Either we continue down the path of self-destruction, where truth is sacrificed at the altar of ideology, or we reclaim both common sense, national pride, and the right to speak freely. And make no mistake, the tide is turning. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and follow for more news, views, and uncomfortable truths.
I'm not sure if you meant this as an insult, but I don't take it as an insult at all. I've lived here for 25 years, or around 25 years, and it's genuinely one of the most accepting places that I can think of in the country. It's made me more patient, more accepting, more empathetic, changed my outlook on things. I came from a small town in my 20s, and I was already kind of liberal, but living here made me even more so. That's the thing with Brighton. That's why people love it so much, because it's so diverse and accepting, and most of the country isn't like that. And I think everybody should have to come here to live here, to experience it and meet the people that they are so scared of. Like, if this is meant to be an insult, I'm not insulted by it at all, really. I worked for the job centre in Brighton for about 8 or 9 years, and in that job, my colleagues were from every kind of background you can imagine. People of colour, different religions, different gender identities, queer, gay, non-binary, you name it, I worked with them. And then you've got the public. I'm dealing with the public face to face. People who were from every kind of background you can ever imagine, every different demographic you can think of. And that in Brighton was an incredible experience, and it shaped me as a person. It made me kinder. It made me more patient. It made me more empathetic. And if woke is what that is, then I'm woke, and it's not an insult. And Brighton is a beautiful place.
Is Britain being colonised by immigrants? Well, that is the extraordinary claim that was made on Sky News yesterday by British billionaire Jim Ratcliffe. And to me, this is a fascinating story because for the first time, we are starting to see some of Britain's elites, the businessmen, the billionaires, the upper echelons of society, defect away from the globalist, multicultural, diversity is our greatest strength worldview.
Huge levels of immigrants coming in. I mean, the UK is being colonised. It's costing too much money. It will cause. It'll cause. Well, the UK is being colonised by immigrants, really, isn't it?
Jim Ratcliffe is an all-around British success story. He's an entrepreneur. He's a wildly clever man. He understands business, and he has enough money that he never really has to concern himself with any of these matters ever again. And yet he is. When someone like that is sounding the alarm bells about the country, you should pay attention. Okay, but what about his very specific claim that Britain is being colonised? Is there any merit to that? Well, I think there is, yes. We know that there are ethnic enclaves up and down this country, and actually if you go on the ONS website and look at the ONS map for census data, you can filter by ethnicity and you will find entire constituencies that are 2, 3, 4% white British. Of course, 40 or 50 years ago, it would have been 98% white British, but the white British people have effectively been cleansed out of that area and an entirely new population has come in. The councillors there won't be white British. Of course, they'll want their own people to rule over them, and the language that's spoken there won't be English. If you look at the census data from 2021 for London, you'll see that it's only 34% white British. That was 5 years ago, so what is it now? 30%? 25%? I don't really know. Birmingham, Bradford, Leicester, all minority white British cities. And often in those places, it's not English that you'll hear spoken, it's a variety of other languages like Pashtun, Urdu, Arabic, whatever it might be. Clearly, parts of this country are just completely unrecognisable. Despite this massive decline and degradation of our country, there are still these weird do-gooders who are upset with Jim Ratcliffe over his use of the word colonised. Okay, the general point which he is raising is absolutely correct. Large parts of the country are unrecognisable, and if we keep going along this trajectory, a lot more of the country will be too.
Living in the UK is such a joke. Why is it that all we do is work, work, work? We go home, we go to bed, but we have little enjoyment time. What is it with this world? Everything fucking costs millions of pounds, literally. It appears to me when I see people abroad, they seem to be happier just living a simple, basic life. But here we're so consumed, we must have a house, we must have a car, we must pay off our mortgage, we must this, we must that. And for what? What then happens at the end? It feels like we are stuck in a rat race. We're just going around that freaking hamster wheel with a rat, with a freaking mouse, constantly chasing the tail. I don't know about anyone else. I'm just exhausted from this bullshit. I'm just exhausted. It feels like from every direction, all we do is get shafted in every possible way. Cost of living is going up. This is expensive, that is expensive, and it's constantly freaking going round in the same fucking circle. Something has to be easier than this shit. Do you ever feel like, you know what, fuck this, I'm out, I'm done, I'm outie, I'm leaving? I once spoke to a guy on holiday who literally was hiring out jet skis, and he said to me when he came to the UK with his wife, because his wife is British and she now lives over there where they live, and he said to me like, oh my god, the life in England is so much harder. Here we literally come to work, we spend time with our family, we get to do things, we're happy, we live very simple lives, but we're together. But here, half the time you feel like you're completely split from your family. You spend time literally with everybody else but your freaking family.
Because so many people are disillusioned and fed up with this communist government, we need to do something about it, otherwise we'll lose Britain forever.
Everything is all about other cultures. It is not about British culture.
To try and help put the country back on its feet again, get the country right, get Starmer out, and make Britain British again.
We're the only political party who's prepared to talk honestly about what I call Orwellian progressive authoritarianism, aka wokeism.
Amongst young men in their early 20s, Reform is the most popular party. I think that's because our generation would really like it if we could afford houses. The only solution to that problem is if we stop making it worse by letting more and more people in.
Because the Labour Party and the Conservative Party are no use. They work for globalists, they work for the World Economic Forum.
I've been a Conservative all my life, and now I am so angry with the lack of action and the wrong attitude, the wokery, the liberal left. I don't consider myself right-wing, I just consider myself having an abundance of common sense.
London has become disgustingly woke. If it's not woke, why are there no white caps? There's an aeroplane going over, sorry to trigger anyone with the fumes. Do you think they cared about fumes in the war? TFL, frankly, the worst offender, probably stands for tofu for lesbians. You're forced to wear a badge if you're pregnant now. Back in my day, if you wanted to know if someone was pregnant, you'd go up to them without permission, grab their belly and say, how far along are you? Yes, I was wrong a lot, but who cares? Not me. The woke propaganda's all over the escalators. If you're on the left, you're allowed to swan on through, but if you're on the right, you have to stand there motionless. I walk directly down the middle, and I do not hold the handrail. The only thing I'm holding on to is my exposed todger. They tell you to carry water on a hot day. Oh, water! I haven't drunk water since 1998 when someone at Eton tried to trick me that they'd invented see-through claret. You know what's ridiculous? You're not even allowed to sexually harass anyone anymore, and yet the cards are named after aphrodisiacs. Probably actually can't even say Oyster cards anymore because they're not vegan. There are all these signs telling people what to do. I saw one the other day that said, keep calm and carry on. You would not have got something like that in the war. All this wokeness is a slippery slope, and they probably have some sign about how dangerous the slippery slope is. If the Blitz happened now, no one would make it underground to safety because they'd all be on their phones crying to their therapists about how the handrail hasn't been sanitized. God, I wish it was World War II again. We need to fight for our freedom. When they tell us to mind the gap, we need to respond the same way I did to my wife when she told me to mind my child. F***ing no.
Political correctness has gone too far. Immigration is out of control. And we need to do more to protect Britain's distinctive identity, culture and history. Those are the three issues that conservatives care the most about and feel that they're not represented on. You might also throw crime into that mix. So that raises an intriguing question. What if we actually had a conservative leader of the Conservative Party? What if we actually had somebody who came out tomorrow and said, you know what? I don't want to have an economy built around importing cheap migrant labor for the next 20 years. I don't want to have a country that can't solve the housing crisis while running net migration at 500,000. And I don't want a country that is still falling over itself to invest in London and the graduate class while ignoring everybody else. And I don't want a country that is increasingly exposing our children to an experiment that has no basis in science. That person would be very popular. That person would lose SW1 and London in 2 days. But out there in the wider country, they would be incredibly popular because they would be saying what everybody is basically thinking, which is that this experiment, this liberal revolution, isn't working.
When it comes to politics, I am what's called a centralist. Because I believe a little from column A, a little from column B would make a decent world for us all to thrive in. And today, I mean, I've been called far right because I've said about how unfettered or unchallenged immigration to a country can cause problems. But then today, I got called a woke left, me, and the reason for that is because I posted a video where, sorry, I'm walking the dog and she tends to pull, but where I pointed out that Nigel Farage has said he wants to get rid of the NHS. And to this day, there is still nothing in proof that that's what he doesn't want, right? So, I got called woke left. Now, that's fine, I'm not bothered. But here's the thing though, right? Because if you live in that world where there is only left and white, there's only black and white and that kind of viewpoint, if I'm woke left, surely that means I'm the opposite of you. So does that mean that you're sleepy right? Like, how does it make sense to call someone woke? Because that means they're awake, they're paying attention to what's going on. And if you're the opposite of that, you're asleep and you don't know what's going on. So seriously, have a little think to yourself and just come up with something better to call people that isn't inadvertently putting yourself down. Just give it a try. But that's why.
Let's talk about this anti-woke argument that's happening at the minute. All these people who are anti-DEI, equality, inclusion, diversity, and all of these people who are being really worried by the woke virus, as you're calling it. Most of you don't actually understand what woke means. We don't have time to go into all the nuances right now, but let's just say in a nutshell it means being awake to what's really happening in the world. Now, most of you fighting against these things are having a real issue with the big, scary trans people who are doing nothing but just minding their own business and being helpful, normal, useful members of society trying to be happy. Or all those scary gay people who are doing nothing other than just getting on with their lives and trying to be happy and hurting no one. In my case, helping as many people as I can. Now, let's just think for a moment. If you are successful and we get rid of all those anti-discrimination bills that are meant to keep us safe, that means you could be discriminated against for being white, for being old, for being right-wing, for being bloody ignorant, and for fighting a war that you have no right fighting in the first place because there's no problem. Maybe you need to be a bit more woke, hey?
Here's a woke take for you. What we deem as entertainment in Western society is all by design to desensitize us. Hear me out. Have you noticed that we seek out gory entertainment? Game of Thrones, Call of Duty, Battlefield. But when it comes to real violence, we can't stomach it and we look away. If you ask me, that's not by accident. I truly believe that the media that we consume is trained to make us see violence and gore as cinematic, entertaining, thrilling, even in some cases heroic. Call of Duty in particular has you shooting the brown guys yelling Allahu Akbar. Game of Thrones romanticizes the life of Khal Drogo, whatever his name was, sexy Aquaman man, even though he is the perpetrator of one of the most violent and graphic rape scenes that I've ever seen on TV, which I couldn't watch it. I had to look away. Why would I watch a scene of rape as entertainment when I've already seen a scene of rape in real life? It's not entertaining to me, it's just triggering. But for whatever reason, we cheer for this kind of content. We binge it. We can't wait for the next season, which is supposedly meant to be even more graphic and gory. It's almost as if it's some sort of addiction. We can't get enough, we need more. But when this same level of brutality actually happens in real life to women and girls and people around the world, like in Sudan and Congo, rape is being used as a weapon of war towards children as young as 1. And we look away. It's on purpose, it's by design. The world doesn't react in a normal human functioning way because we've been desensitized. We see stuff like this on our screens all the time. The more desensitized we are, the easier it is for media and governments to control what actually shocks us. Violence in fiction becomes entertainment. Violence in reality just becomes noise. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's normal. I know that I'll be called too woke or too sensitive for this, and maybe I am. Maybe I am. But I would rather sit there with my crochet than be spoon-fed Western propaganda that is so rooted in violence and prejudice. I said what I said.
Right. So I put this together for fun, and it's just based on all the stuff that we've learned since I've been running this particular channel, and it's called the Nightly Manifesto. All right, this is not, obviously it's not real, but I did put this together, so let me guys know what you think. So, My first policy is what I call the Hurty Words Amendment. Nobody in the United Kingdom should face prosecution simply for words online or in person unless there is a clear and provable intent to cause direct physical harm. Free speech will be restored in law, and any judge or bureaucrat who has wrongly imprisoned people for harmless speech will be investigated, judged by an elected panel, and if found guilty of abusing their authority, removed from office with immediate effect. Next, we will restore law and order. That means retraining the police, raising standards, and ensuring they are respected as capable public servants. Policing will be based on merit, evidence, and statistics, not fashionable sensitivities. All DEI initiatives will be scrapped across both public service and the corporate sector. No one will ever again be hired or promoted because of skin colour, creed, or sexual orientation, only on skill and merit. We need the best person for the job, not box-ticking quotas. False accusations that ruin lives must carry real consequences. If anyone, man or woman, fabricates evidence or lies to accuse another person of serious crimes for financial gain or character assassination, they themselves will face prosecution and prison. Public office will also return to common sense standards. No mayor or councillor will address constituents in any languages other than English. No foreign flags or political flags will fly from council buildings, only the Union Jack and the recognised flags of the United Kingdom. Any official who breaks these rules will be removed and prosecuted. Taxpayer money will never again be spent promoting foreign interest, as with the disgraceful example of funding an international airport in Pakistan, which was being advocated by a Labour councillor. No, we're not spending British taxpayers' money on somewhere thousands of miles away from... That makes no sense. We're not doing that. If anyone brings up something like that, they should be removed from office immediately, with immediate effect. That is not what we do here in England. Okay? Out with you. Get out. And when councillors are sworn in, they will do so, for example, on the Bible, in line with our Church of England traditions and our national heritage. We will leave the European Court of Human Rights and replace it with the British Bill of Rights, giving us full control of our borders. Illegal immigrants will be deported en masse. Foreign nationals who commit crimes will be deported immediately with no right of return. Now, let me specify. That is for people from outside the EU, okay? Okay, because this is the issue we're having, is that there is a general consensus that these people don't share the same values as we do because they come from a different continent. So if it's within the EU, there will be a different set of laws for that. But for someone that is not from the EU or from Europe, out with you. No. A deportation minister will be appointed, and the Royal Navy will secure our borders. Legal immigrants will not have access to benefits for 10 years, only after proving a decade of taxpayer contributions above a set threshold, which they will qualify. Okay, so effectively it takes a lot more stress off of our public services, where people get benefits, so that way the people that are getting benefits have a proven track record of paying their taxes on time, and having a stable income. Outside of that, no, unless of course you're born here, which is a different story altogether. Right, in education, we will pass the British Sovereignty Re-Education Act. British history will be taught with balance and pride, recognising both our challenges and our immense contributions, from the abolition of slavery to and the spread of common law. Those are two things that, you know, we are responsible for in the UK, which we should be proud of and should also be taught in schools en masse. Okay? No child will be burdened with guilt for events that they had no part in, and reparations will not be demanded. The Union Jack will be celebrated, not demonised. Economically, we will launch the British Reinvestment and Infrastructure Renewal Act. We will make the UK a magnet for business, small and large, with tax breaks to bring investments across the whole nation, not just London. We will keep our brightest minds here, foster innovation in engineering and AI, and build a country where infrastructure matches ambition. For London itself, we will scrap the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit that has paralysed traffic, abolish the ULEZ scheme that punishes ordinary workers, and reduce the excessive surveillance cameras that have turned the capital into a near police state. Instead, we will invest heavily in making transport for London efficient, safe and clean, or cleaner, much cleaner.
People can't afford homes. Pensions are thin. Wages are tired. But the government assures us we're morally world class. Lovely. I'll put that on toast and see if it feeds me. Dark truth with dry humour. A nation can't run on virtue signals and borrowed money forever. At some point you need results, not rebranding. It's not wrong to be fair. It's not wrong to be kind. But it is wrong to go broke pretending that's enough. Blighty isn't finished, but it is running a very expensive joke on its own people. Cheerio, and I will see you all in the next video.